Thank you for joining us. Thank you for this very interesting movie. I will open up the floor in a minute, but maybe I will start with the first question. So you are working with the Shoruq Organization. Can you maybe shortly explain to us what Shoruq is and what it is doing?
Yes, Shoruq is an organization that's based in the Haitian refugee camp in Bethlehem area, which is in the West Bank. And we focus on working with refugees, advocating for refugees' rights, especially after more than 74 years of exile. It's like an initiative to advocate for the Palestinian refugee rights and also to empower the refugee youth so they can speak up about themselves throughout media, films, art, graffiti, different ways.
You are yourself a refugee. I mean, you grew up in the camp of Jaisha, which
Yes.
Which is also the camp you were talking about in the movie. The movie does not really talk about the situation of today. Could you maybe tell us more about what's happening today? Also, not only like the past 10 years, but also recently with COVID, with Naftali Bennett and so on. How is the situation now?
Actually, now the refugees are more involved in the Palestinian society. They are more educated. They are more in the, let's say, the authority. But still, there is a high percentage of poverty in the camp. There's still the humanitarian situation is very hard because the houses are very crowded. Because in the Haiti camp, for example, there is 15,000 people living in 1 kilometer square. So it's really very crowded. And in some areas in the camp, people cannot see the sun, the light. There is really a hard situation because in 1948, the camp was smaller. And after all these years, it become wider and more people and more generation is living in this small area. And we are still in the same situation. There is lack of electricity, especially in winter, lack of water in summer. Yes, this is an overview about the camp.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone in the audience have a question?
Thank you. Marcel here. Hello, thank you for your movie. I would like to ask you, you said that there was a lot of anger in the camp of Déchets in the time of your movie in the 87 years. What would be the camp which is the angriest today? Is it the camp of Jabalia or Jenin? This is my question number one. And my question number two, in your movie, you show a lot of interaction in pressure from IDF, from the Israeli military. Is that the case today? Thank you.
So the first question was about the anger. What camp is like facing more anger? Yes, is it like that?
Yes, that's the question.
Yeah. Actually, you know, I think living in these circumstances without any solution for these refugees, it makes people under a very hard situation and in anger. But also there is invasion. There are invasions every week, every single day sometimes, invading the camp during the night. Killing people, arresting people, tear gas. So also this is another part of the story nowadays, which makes the society also in anger. So what refugee camp is facing more anger? Actually, I can't answer this question because we are in a way in a similar situation, under occupation, under difficult situation. So I mean, I don't have an answer, but we are in a way in a similar situation. But for example, refugee camps in Lebanon are facing different circumstances because they can't work in 70 occupation and 70 jobs. So they are more under poverty, under more hard circumstances, especially socially, economically. But in the West Bank, it's a more political hard situation.
I'm not sure if I understood well, but can people nowadays move out freely from the camp to other Palestinian territories? And then, if I understood well, those 15,000 people, they cannot live in another place. But if someone wants to get married to someone living in another place in Palestine, what happens?
Yeah, actually, you know, in the Palestinian territories, the camp and the city, it's all open. So people living next to us in Bethlehem, they can visit the camp. We can go there. There is no borders. But the problem is that when we move from one city to another, there are Israeli checkpoints. So you go, if you want to go from Bethlehem to Ramallah, there are 3 checkpoints. So here is more problem. The story was about the camp in the late 80s, let's say, and the camp was surrounded with a fence. But that nowadays it's different. It's open, but we have the wall, the big separation wall, which is separating Bethlehem from Jerusalem, for example. I mean, the architecture of the occupation is continuing, but in a different way. It's still the same.
Est-ce qu'il y a une autre question?
Thank you, Tamara, and congratulations for the nice production. I have a question. You know, after 1 year or second year of COVID, we had a lot of people with psychological problems, and we are still suffering from that. And I just cannot imagine how 3 generations of people under these circumstances have grown up. So what is the state of mind of the young people, those restless teenagers or young adults? What is the state of mind now? As you said, you were initially imprisoned in the camps, but now you are excluded as well through the wall. So could you please explain and elaborate what is going on in the heads of these younger generations? Thank you.
Yeah, what I feel, like I'm a filmmaker, but I'm not like a social worker, but what I feel that we went through a very hard situation in COVID, but it's very similar to the curfew. We were living in also a similar situation in the curfew in the first and second intifada, where people cannot move, they have to stay in their houses. If anyone moves, the Israeli soldier will shoot him or her. So in COVID, people were laughing at the old stories from the curfew. Some people said it was easier. Some people said no, it was harder. But mentally, yeah, it has very bad effects on the younger generation, because we lost hope for so many years. And actually, I made this film in a way to give hope that people, when they come together, they can make things. I tried to spread hope in a way, but still give the right image from what's going on. So yeah, people are hopeless. People are facing so many difficulties. COVID, economical hard situation, occupation. Yeah, it's not easy. And also lately, the UNRWA is reducing their help to the camps, which was also not easy.
You say you wanted to make a hopeful film, but you finish with the wall, so that's not very hopeful.
Yeah. Yes, but you can perceive it in a different way, that we destroyed that big fence, so we can destroy that wall.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yeah, there's another question.
Thank you for your production and for letting us know more about the everyday life there. I was wondering, as the film shows clearly that back then people had to struggle with spies within the camp, informing Israeli soldiers about the resistance within the camp. I was wondering how things go today, whether the inhabitants of the camp are very tightly bound together, or if people still have to struggle with being careful about potential spies within the camps.
So you are asking about the spies.
Yes, the spies.
Did I hear well? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is still and it's continuing in a different way. I mean, they are watching our social media, our Facebook, our Instagram, anything. So if, for example, if you write a post that's against Israel, many people were arrested because of their posts on Facebook, for example. So there are still spies, but also they are watching us in this new media techniques, let's say. And yeah, it's fear everywhere, actually. There is a big fear. But on the other hand, what I feel that people, the connection between people is very strong. We have really a strong society. We have a really strong family society based on family, which supports anyone in trouble, let's say. Yeah, from back then until now. But what's special about the first Intifada is that there is a big participation from every member in the society: women, old people, men, children. That was really very special. And now the people are hopeless. We lost hope in parties. We lost hope in the Palestinian Authority. We lost hope even sometimes in the NGOs. So so the participation is less, really less participation. But to document that era, let's say, it gives an idea to the younger generation that we have a good history in struggle, in peaceful struggle, and let's continue.
Yep.
Thank you. I understand you come from a camp, and then you were able to have a somehow normal life. You studied abroad, you had international experiences and so on. So just a few questions there. How hard was it? How did you manage, to acquire what looks like a normal freedom, almost seeing you and hearing you and so on? And how common is that? Are you an exception, or is that a chance that people in the camps, your colleagues, your friends, your families have also seen the interviews? The people you interviewed seemed quite educated and people who somehow managed to have a life after the camp. Is all this exceptional, and how is it possible? Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say that these are not exceptions, because people living in the camp are really very good educated, because they were lost after they lost their houses, they lost their money, everything. So there was like a collective decision that we have to study, we have to be more educated and more intellectual to survive. So yeah, and also women are intellectual and educated, but I was exception in a part of my life, because I was traveling and my parents were supportive, and many other girls, they didn't have the same opportunity, they didn't have the same chance in their families. But now it's changing. If you look at the filmmakers, female filmmakers, we have really very powerful filmmakers, and they are women, and they raise their voices, they raise their people's voices. It's changing actually, and a lot from, let's say, 90s and like in the second intifada, like in 2000 till 2005, let's say, women participation was less. I don't know what happened. The Islamic movement changed the society back then, and what I feel now, it's changing actually.
I have another question actually. The most part of your movie is made of archival footage, of historical photographs. Where did you find them? How did you get to them?
Yeah, actually, the decision was to make interviews and to make the film visually throughout the painting. So I decided with the artist, the painter, to make the scenes in drawings. And in the research period, I worked a lot, like to try to find more footage from the first Intifada, and fortunately, I found a person who was a journalist in the first Intifada, and he had maybe 200 cassettes, small cassettes, that he cannot watch them because the old camera destroyed, and there is no camera to play the cassettes. And I had another journey to try to find a camera to see the cassette and to convert them. And yeah, fortunately, these are the footage from the first Intifada. And for me, it was very, very nice to see Palestine in that time. All women in the street, all people in the street fighting for their freedom. And that we don't see it nowadays. It's different.
Okay.
As I said in a question before, that people nowadays, they lost hope. Yeah, so it was really very nice for me to see that image and to screen it for people to see it. So, and the decision to keep the painting, keep the drawing, but I made it a little bit less than the decision I made before. I used more archival footage.
Okay, is there another question? Otherwise, we will close the session. There is another question here.
Yes. You said people lost hope. So what is the future? Is this a lost fight, or the fight goes on? Is there still some resilience, some resistance, or what do you think?
Yeah. Yes, in a way we lost hope, but there is resistance still. I feel the younger generation is still using the new way, like social media, campaigns, collecting spreading knowledge all over the world to people to know more about our society, our issue, about the Palestinian cause. I don't know if you hear about Sheikh Jarrah. Young two people, Mona Al-Kurd and Muhammad Al-Kurd, they were resisting through their mobiles to tell all over the world the story in Sheikh Jarrah and Jerusalem. So what I feel, we didn't lose hope completely, but the situation changed when I saw the archival material in the first Intifada. You feel the power of people in the street. Nowadays is different, but there is still hope, there is still resistance. But the peace process after Oslo 1993 changed the dynamics of the Israeli-Palestinian situation and put us in more the weak side. So we are under occupation, under their control, under all their procedures, and they I mean, also the people, not just the camps, also people who are living in Area C. I don't know if you know these Area C, Area A. Area A under the Palestinian Authority control, but still we have invasions. Area C is Palestinians who are living in Palestinian land, but under Israeli control. So they are really facing a hard situation nowadays, because the Israelis are taking their land, the settlers are fighting every day, killing every day. So, I mean, we have no other choice, just we have to fight for our rights. We don't have any other choice.
Yes, so the Oslo Treaty was win for the Israeli and losing for the Palestinians, but
it was after the first Intifada, and the first Intifada was all that power from people in the streets, and it was ended by the Oslo Agreement, which was a shock actually for the Palestinians, and we still are living the shock actually.
So perhaps the resistance will take another form. It will not the third Intifada. How will it be? Will it be like the electronic Intifada? You make films. Will it be with the pictures? Because the narratives that the social media took such an importance to influence people. So it's no more the stones, but it's the image.
The tools are changing. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I believe in that actually. It's very strong. The image is very strong and changing opinions all over the world. And this is also important.
Okay, I think we can finish here, unless there is a very, very urgent question. No? Tamara, thank you very much for the movie. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you.
I hope we'll show your next movie too. Merci à tout le monde aussi pour avoir assisté à la soirée. Et le prochain film sera le 12 novembre. Vous le verrez dans le programme qui se trouve juste à l'entrée. N'oubliez pas de remplir la fiche. Et voilà, à bientôt. Merci.
Thank you.